Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came out at the beginning of the 4th of July weekend 2023, and it hasn't exactly set the box office on fire, making about $60 million in its opening weekend. And because Monday morning quarterbacking is one of the internet's favorite forms of discourse, there are plenty of people out there who are theorizing endlessly about why. Which has led to a lot of statements online about how the movie is bad or should never have been made, or it doesn't have the 80-year-old Harrison Ford doing more action scenes. There's also been an astoundingly disingenuous take saying that the movie doesn't make it clear why Nazis are bad and need to be punched in the face at every opportunity, but we only have so much time here. This has, surprisingly, led to a lot of backlash from people who hold the same opinion I do. It was a good, solid, fun time, but no, not the best movie in the franchise, nor does it set the cinematic world on fire. Some people who didn't like it are, for some inexplicable reason, picking fights with people who enjoyed the film just fine, but just aren't gushing about it like it's the most important thing at the theaters right now. Which has pretty much led me to the conclusion that marketing and the constant online culture war discourse over nearly every goddamn thing has finally poisoned the internet hive mind. People seem to have forgotten, or just flat out refused to acknowledge, that the world came to a screeching halt for almost 3 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it's only now that the studios are finally getting caught up with projects that were put in limbo or severely reworked in production to account for that. Almost nothing released in theaters over the last few months has been a huge hit right out of the gate. There are outliers, of course. The Super Mario Bros. Movie made over $1 billion worldwide, but honestly, that probably would have happened no matter when it was released. Mario has a huge cultural footprint worldwide, and seeing a Mario movie that actually looks like the games on the big screen, I would have only been surprised if it flopped somehow. But a side effect of the pre-COVID box office numbers constantly getting higher and higher for each new blockbuster coming out seems to have warped our perceptions. Or at least the perceptions of those of us who spend a lot of time online. It's turned into a sport, somehow. It doesn't matter what the movie is about or how good it is. No, it's all about the box office numbers and which movie deserves to come out on top. Hell, even though it's tinged with an element of ironic humor, there's still a supposed rivalry happening among movie fans online as to whether Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer is going to do better than Greta Gerwig's Barbie on their mutual opening weekend, despite being as tonally and aesthetically opposite as you can get. I haven't seen a more lopsided set of so-called contenders at the box office since Saw 5 and High School Musical 3 had the same opening weekend back in 2008. Before the pandemic, we lived in a world where the marketing constantly bombarded us with the #1 movie in the world, or X movie made over $1 billion. But because that happens so frequently and so often, especially throughout the 2010s, it seems to have warped us into thinking that billion-dollar box office is supposed to be the norm, not the exception. And now, post-pandemic, when the window between theatrical release and home video, whether physical or streaming, has gotten so small, a lot of people who maybe go see one movie a month, are being a lot more discerning about where they're going to spend their money. Prices for going out have gone up, exponentially so, and a night at the movies for a family of 4 can run at least $60 on average for tickets alone, more if snacks are purchased. That's a lot of money to ask people to part with. And the late spring and early summer of 2023 has had a lot of movies demanding people's attention. In addition to Mario, Indiana Jones, and Across the Spider-Verse, the 3 most heavily marketed movies in my particular area, there's also been Elemental, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash, and lesser promoted options like Wes Anderson's Asteroid City or Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. With the possible exception of Asteroid City, every single one of the movies I've listed are all targeted toward the same general family audience. Yes, even The Flash. And regardless of the quality of these movies, most of them are still in theaters at the time of production of this video, all competing for that same basic audience. Which means those movies are, in essence, cannibalizing each other. Your average family audience doesn't have the money to see that many movies in that short amount of time. So they're going to be a lot more discerning in what they choose to see and what they wait to get streaming. And whether the online movie fan community wants to admit it or not, that family audience is where most of any of these movies' money is going to come from. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But because all anyone online seems to care about is which movie has the bigger numbers, and we've all been so conditioned by now to expect a hit to bring in 10 digits at the box office, a lower tier movie like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a perfectly serviceable, goofy, mid-grade film, can make more than double its budget and it's still considered a bomb. Which, no, that is not a bomb, no matter what you may think of its quality. That is a success, just not a huge one. Which finally brings me to my point. The internet seems to have forgotten that it's okay for there to be okay movies. Good, solid, entertaining movies which do just fine at the box office, even if they aren't getting spectacular buzz or having an increasing profit total getting higher and higher like the score on a pinball machine manipulated by the Who's Tommy. According to the internet, if every new movie isn't making bank right out of the gate, it's terrible. And that's just not the case, especially right now, early July of 2023, with so many options for people to choose from. At the time I'm writing this script, I saw Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken earlier in the day, and it's a charming, colorful, delightfully animated movie with likable characters and a basic but well-told story. It's currently number 6 at the box office in its opening weekend, and has only taken in $7.2 million at the time of recording. The internet, both professionally and amateur, have declared this movie a massive flop, despite it doing well with audiences who have seen it. But it's not hard to see why it's not doing well, despite, again, being a solid, fun, okay movie. Both Elemental and Across the Spider-Verse are still both in theaters, both with proven pedigrees. One, a sequel to a surprise hit that no one expected, and the other, the latest offering from Pixar, which, despite its lackluster marketing, seems to be surprising those who go to see it. Of course, something new from DreamWorks with a decidedly different tone and style to the other animated offerings probably isn't going to do well against those heavy hitters. We need to stop treating box office and aggregate scores like they're the be-all, end-all of quality. There's room for movies which are just okay. Hell, it was providing these okay movies that pulled Disney out of its tailspin in the 80s and 90s, with Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg greenlighting productions they referred to as singles and doubles. They knew not every movie could be a massive hit, but they could still make money by putting out a stream of solidly okay films with the occasional home run to boost the profit margin. Yes, of course, budget matters. Dial of Destiny cost $295 million to make, and $60 million in the opening weekend, when most people are most likely to go see it, is not a great start, and it probably has a huge uphill battle to make its money back, much less become profitable. But that doesn't mean that the movie itself is bad. It also doesn't mean it's spectacular. It's just okay. Maybe okay movies don't hit every button with every audience, but low performance at the box office doesn't mean those movies are the worst thing ever made for theaters. There doesn't have to be this constant declaration of a lack of quality just because every seat isn't filled for every showing. The box office numbers should not be the benchmark for determining a movie's quality. It's okay for these movies to just be okay. And it's also okay if audiences think these movies are just okay too.
Now, I got a rope. It's one rope. I snip it in two. It's two. Now it's one again. Okay? That was his abracadabra. Okay? Okay. Okay. That was it.